And, part of what we're seeing here is an all-out push by the establishment media, the establishment in Washington, billionaires like Pete Peterson and their Fix the Debt program, their sponsorship of Simpson Bowls. And CNBC weighs in, and this is just precious. My God, for the 6,000 people who watch CNBC on a daily basis just to make themselves feel good about their own unbridled greed and their own righteousness as job makers in the world, job creators. Job creators. Do I have my, I don't think I do. Thunder. That's when I need my thunder thing there. Well, I got this. Not the same. This piece in CNBC from last week, income inequality has been on the rise for 3 decades in the United States, according to the Congressional Budget Office, with the gap between the haves and the have-nots currently at its widest point since 1967. But as Democrats and Republicans wrangle over fiscal fairness and taxation, some experts argue that income inequality is not such a bad thing. They even go as far as saying America's economy functions on the base of it. And then who do they quote? What expert? Why, of course. I think it's quite obvious. Rick Santorum. Rick Santorum said last February that income inequality was part of the fabric of American society, and long should it be so. That's the first expert. A speech from his Republican presidential campaign. This is such a piece of garbage, this piece. I can't even believe it. The next quote is from Jared Bernstein, senior fellow at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. And he says, though the issue of our high levels of income inequality won't be front and center in this debate, they're very much in the background. Well, anything else you've read of Jared Bernstein suggests that he believes this is a real problem for our economy. So he's not one of the experts. Then they quote, the 1975 work, Equality and Efficient, The Big Trade-Off, the Harvard economist Arthur Okun argued that inequality was the price to be paid for an efficient economy. That, of course, was 30 years ago, before we had this explosion of income inequality in this country. Thomas Garrett, the next expert they're going to quote for this piece, Assistant Vice President at the St. Louis Federal Reserve, wrote in 2010 that income inequality in the U.S. was not so bad. In other words, this expert's not arguing that income inequality is good, just that it's a little bit exaggerated. And the reason why it's exaggerated through our U.S. census numbers is because statistics do not include the non-cash resources received by lower-income households, such as the tens of billions of dollars in subsidies for housing, food, and medical care, and the tax payments made by wealthier households to fund these transfers. In other words, you should know that nobody's getting billions of dollars for their own home. No, that's over the course of millions of people. So he's saying that $200 that people get a month to buy food, that's not factored in. And if you factor in that $200 a month, you're talking about a whole $2,400 a year. And the gap between someone who has hundreds of millions of dollars and someone who has, let's say, $20,000 a year in income, that's a whole different equation when you add that $2,400.
Could you imagine the person who's like, well, I mean, a family living off of 15 grand, that's one thing. But now that I see the full numbers, it's, 16 grand. I don't know why,
17.4. Whoa, wait a second.
Whoa, that's like really misleading.
And then the only other expert, they said, was Edward Conrad, or quoted, a former partner at asset management firm Bain Capital, argued that inequality was actually good for economic growth. In his book, Unintended Consequences, everything you've been told about the economy is wrong. So this is an enormous piece of garbage. I don't even know if this is a reported piece or a an opinion piece. But either way, pretty thin gruel to try and convince people that they've got it pretty well and they just don't appreciate it.